established quorum. So, all right, here we go. This is Alan Llewellyn. I am an elected member of the Stratford Building Needs Committee and chairman of the Stratford High School Renovation Subcommittee. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, we are conducting this meeting virtually on gotomeetings.com on Monday, May 4th, 2020. I'm going to do a roll call of the following subcommittee members. Alan Llewellyn as chair is in. Alternate Bob Shalou, signify by saying here.
Here.
Thank you. Subcommittee member Jack Delapiano.
Jack just texted me. He's having a little difficulty, but he's trying as we speak.
All right, he gets in. I'm sure we'll see. We'll pick him up later. Board of Ed member Bob DiLorenzo.
Here.
Electorate member Rich Fredette.
Schools are going to be determined tomorrow.
Thought I saw him there. All right, electorate member Len Petroselli.
Here.
Electorate member Susan Lance. All right, Councilman Ken Poisson.
Here.
Superintendent Dr. Janet Robinson.
Here.
Electorate member Dan Semps.
Here.
And now we'll go through the town representatives and consultants. Mayor Hoydick. Town engineer John Casey.
I'm here.
Decision for tomorrow.
Board of Education building supervisor Rich Ruggiero.
Here.
Town building superintendent Dan Wakeling. Here, architect from Antonazi George Perham.
Here.
I see you there, George. Architect from Antonazi Lisa Yates.
Here.
Our representative from CREC, Paul Drummy.
Here.
Representing Turner Construction, Ron Denny.
Here.
Turner Project Manager, Tim Kleps.
Here.
Our Subcommittee Recording Secretary, Aileen Marsh.
Here.
Council Clerk, Margot Paquette.
Here.
And do we have Chief of Staff Mike Downs with us? I didn't see him. Is there any names that are not mentioned in this roll call list? If so, in orderly format, please state your name and affiliation.
Alan, this is Jack Delapiano. I apologize. I'm here on phone call now.
All right, thanks. Thanks for checking in, Jack. I'll check you off and make sure for the record that you're noted as being here.
Thank you.
All right, moving forward, quorum for this committee is 5, which we have. Before this meeting is called to order, I'd like to remind everyone to raise their hand if they'd like to speak. When you are called upon, each and every time you begin talking, please begin by stating your name and title, such as that you're a committee member or what your town title is. Again, as similar to last month, we are conducting this meeting as per Governor Lamont's executive order, which allows us to have this meeting. Again, I can hear a little bit of an echo, so if anybody hasn't muted your phones, please do so now so we can be able to all hear each other. So with that having been said, I'll officially call us to meeting to order at 5:39 p.m. And I'll entertain a motion for the approval of our minutes from April 6th of 2020. Again, noting that there was a correction made on an amount from 4.462 to 2.462.
Although my figures were better.
Thanks, Aileen. Entertain a motion to approve.
Bob Shalou.
Thank you, Mr. Shalou. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further comments, questions, corrections, revisions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Right. Chair votes aye. Who is that voting opposed? All right. Hearing none, the chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Item 3 under our town council update, Councilman Ken Poisson.
Again, knock on wood, everything's going smoothly at the council level, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for that report. And again, thanks to you, the mayor, Mike Downs, Margot, for putting in the time and effort so that we can have these meetings and keep everything in line with how they need to be as per the executive order. That having been said, under item 4, this is the project financial update. I will turn it over at this point to Paul Drummy from CREC.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Paul Drummy from CREC. The project remains under budget with $2.25 million remaining in owner's contingency. Just a further note, Chairman, the week of May 11th, we're going to be done with a report reconciling the master budget to the general ledger and sending out a narrative with regard to that. And next month, possibly making some motions on recommended suggested budget line transfers.
All right, excellent. Is there any questions for Paul related to the project financial update? All right, hearing none at this point, I will turn things over to Tim Kleps from Turner as we go through these Turner items one at a time. We'll take the motions and hopefully make this more efficient than last month. Again, whoever's got the background talking, please mute your phone.
Okay.
All right, Tim, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll jump in as needed to get through these motions as expeditiously as possible. Thank you.
Okay. Again, Tim Kleps with Turner. I'll run through the CORs that were distributed to the team by Paul Drummy from CREC on, I guess it was early morning on Saturday. First change order for today is COR 236. This is RFI number 210. I lost my place here. So COR 236 RFI 510. This is for building A. This is to add a PRV, pressure reducing valve, on the existing incoming water supply over on building A. The existing, we dug into this a little deeper. What we learned was that the pressure that was provided to the plumbing engineer IES back at design time was around 70 to 75 PSI. We had a pressure reducing backflow that would have brought the pressure more in line with what was required by the building. Actual pressures are closer to 75 to 80. This is required to be able to reduce the domestic water. This requires the rework of the incoming water supply, again, to make room to be able to install this PRV. We had the one for building B last month, and we'll have one for building A this month, as well as building C as a separate COR. Material cost is the majority of this. If you look at the backup, so total change order is $17,994.
Glenn Petroselli.
All right, is there a second?
Second, Bob Shalou.
All right, motion been made by Len Petroselli, seconded Bob Shalou to accept this in the amount of $17,994. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Tim, 237.
All right, change order number 237 is in reference to RFI 511 for some additional life safety devices. These came as a result of the virtual reality walkthrough with Larry Ciccarelli and Bob Daniels from the Fire Marshal's office. There's some added exit signs, some added pull stations, and some additional changes with splash guards, similar to what we had done over in Building A. These items were caught way ahead of inspections that would happen at the end of the project, thereby saving costs with rework. Total change order here is $8,376.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Petroselli. Who's the second on that?
Bob Lorenzo.
Seconded by Mr. DiLorenzo. Any further questions, comments, discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Tim, 238.
All right, change order number 238. This is to replace a T-stat or temperature wall thermostat over in the wood storage in Building C. It was brought to our attention that there was a damaged thermostat over there. Within that wood storage, there's a lot of materials being shifted around and moved. It appears that maybe one of the wood carts got rolled into this thermostat. To replace that thermostat as well as to add a cover over the top of that and reprogram it is a total change order of $1,370.
So moved.
Mr. Petroselli, is there a second?
Second, Bob Shalou.
Seconded by Bob Shalou. Any further questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Before moving on to 239, I just want to inform everyone there's a correction on the amount with this, and Tim, please verify this when you take over. But the amount for this item should be $56,981. Again, 239, 56,981. And go ahead, Tim.
Okay, the next change order is change order number 239. This is in reference to RFI 417 for the updated screen wall. So this screen wall is located on the north side of the auditorium. There are two AC units that are on that roof. In order to comply with the service distances for filter changes and for any other maintenance that are required on these units, there were some adjustments that were required, and we spoke about this previously with some steel changes that you see on this change order that we're reconciling out with this change order. So 239 is for the additional work associated with the roofing that's going to take place to be able to encapsulate this screen wall. The CMU required to extend the 9 feet. It's almost a 60-foot long screen wall, as well as some added framing at the back side of the screen wall to be able to provide a substrate for the roofing material, as well as to get up to the coping. The combined work here is, again, as I said, in response to a air handling unit clearances. The air handling unit was a substitution request. We've had several conversations with Antonazzi and with IES, and they continue as to the responsibility for the work associated with the relocation of the screen wall. It is complicated because there was, even with the base unit that was specified, this screen wall would have had to be relocated. The details associated with that would have had to been made clear, and now we need to sort through the pieces and parts of this. But in order to be able to continue moving the schedule forward and be able to continue to have the subcontractors who are not involved with the actual relocation of the unit, these costs are to meet the design as set forth in the RFI response 417. Total change order with the reconciliation from the steel that was an allowance last time is a net $56,981.
So moved with the understanding this building needs reported to the town council for approval.
Absolutely. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Petroselli. Is there a second?
Second. Bob DiLorenzo.
Bob DiLorenzo. Any further questions, comments, discussion?
Yeah,
Hearing none,
discussion.
go ahead. Sorry.
And some building needs. Was this a design flaw, or what was the issue here?
I'll give you a response, and I would invite Lisa to speak on behalf of the design team. This was it's complicated by the fact that the original designed unit, as shown on the contract documents, would have shown the need for that unit to shift further north to be able to account for the maintenance dimensions that are required in the clearances. The substitute unit required it to get shifted even more so than the base design unit did. So the screen wall initially per design was meant to come on the just south of the parapet wall and extend up from that point. It was a metal corrugated metal panel, a screen wall with no backing on it, no AVB, no roofing. The new detail puts it directly on the parapet, so the parapet was extended up. The roofing is going to go to the top. The coping will be over the top of it, so it becomes part of the envelope of the building, per se. So it by the relocation, it complicated even more by adding more to the design to be able to make it, what I'll say from Antonazzi, I don't want to speak for them, is to make it fit and make it look correct. So that's where it gets complicated when you're trying to say, okay, this is the HVAC subcontractor who substituted, what piece of it would they or could they be responsible for? They're clearly responsible for a shift in that screen wall, but to what extent? And that's going to be a very complicated thing to work out.
Right. So I would only add that we've looked at 3 out of 5 of the named manufacturers, and it does look like the clearances for the specified units would have fit on the roof, although perhaps not in exactly the same place as they were shown in the design drawings. And that this substituted unit, actually originally the clear spaces for this unit extended several feet over the parapet. And of course, you can't service the unit from midair, but we were able to bring it back in line with the wall. And that's the point we're going to continue to talk about moving forward, understanding that, to meet the schedule, they've got to build the wall.
And can we foresee any additional cost to this?
I don't foresee any additional cost for this. This closes up the remainder of the RFI response. Again, Antonazzi had put together a whole new detail to extend this from the parapet to, again, make it fit on the building. So this would be the final cost associated with it. And with that COR number 164.
239.
Yes, but 164 is also being reconciled here. So that was a $10,000 allowance, which is being reconciled in this change order. Actual cost came out at around $3,000. So that's being reconciled against the total cost from the other 3 trades.
Thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, go ahead, Bob.
So I've been on these calls for about 2 years now, and I'm just wondering, are we still within the range of the budget with the project here? Because I know there's a lot of change orders that come through, which is fine, and things happen across the line, but are we in line budget-wise still?
Yeah, I'll take care of answering that. Yeah, yes, we are. If you check on the on both the correct budget sheet that we reviewed before, it kind of shows the contingency amounts, and then the available funds are also the available funds within the GMP are shown on Turner's dashboard schedule in the pie charts that are kind of on the right-hand side.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions, Mr. Poisson?
I just thought it seems to be my monthly question. Are we paying for somebody's mistake to be fixed?
So Lisa talking here, I can tell you that there's no rework in this. As to the unit substitution, I think we already explained that we're still finding that out, but this is not pulling it out and having you guys pay for something twice.
That answer your question, Ken?
I guess so.
All right. Are there any other questions concerning COR 239? All right. Hearing none, I'll call this to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. On number 240, just before we move forward on this, I'm sure Tim will add in some details for me, but change the amount to $70,793. So that's again 240 going to 70793. And Tim, take it from here.
Okay, give me 1 second. This is slow to load for some reason. So it's COR number 240. This is in reference to Bulletin 13 for demo and investigation. As you can see, the bulletin number being number 13 is quite old when it comes to bulletin numbers. The reason for that is this work that's associated here is in what we refer to as the knuckle. It's over in Building C, the final phase 3A. Where you enter the gym on the west side, or I'm sorry, on the east side. So if you're coming into the east side of the gym, that area right there is where we feed all the MEPs that service Building C, as well as that feed out to Building A, including electrical, fire protection, plumbing, all goes through that particular area. This space in the final phase of phase 3A was the piece, if I'm correct, that didn't have as-built drawings associated with this space. There was the base contract drawings, I should say, showed us adding some joists in this area to be able to supplement the existing structure so that it was sufficient to handle the snow load between two taller roofs. This space, once we added those joists, again, the original design was to take the roof off and replace the roof, which we're doing, but then also to pull the decking off, put some joists in there to supplement the structure, and then put the deck back down and roof over. Through MEP coordination, it was identified this space was congested with a lot of MEPs in a low ceiling area to be able to fit everything through. We have since done, while the school's been vacant, a lot of investigations in this area, looking at the structure, looking at the necessity to be able to shore this whole roofing structure while we perform the necessary work, which is going to be remove the joists and use structural steel framing to be able to make the room and also provide the sufficient structural support on this roof. The cost associated with this, as you see here, and the increase is due to now some allowances. As we continue to get further into this, we're coming up with more and more unforeseen conditions that weren't contemplated. So there's some costs in here for shoring. As I said, we're going to be shoring the entire roof system on 3 sides of this area where the steel needs to be replaced. There's cost in here to demolish the existing structure that wasn't originally scheduled to be demolished. We have some allowances in here. And again, it's important that I emphasize that they're allowances, but we have some allowances here for temporary supporting and reinstallation of the existing plumbing, the electrical, fire protection, and piping within that corridor. So once we take the structure out, we have to be able to support this and hang some of these existing utilities while we restructure this knuckle. We have an allowance for additional investigations with shoring and structural engineering. Again, we continue to bring back de Blasi, who's looked at this on several occasions to be able to determine how to make this work while maintaining the structural integrity of the rest of the space around it, the locker rooms, the area already renovated. There's an allowance in here for removing and replacing the ceiling. We're going to have to come back into the already renovated spaces to take out some of the ceiling and then to reinstall that once this work gets completed. So as I said, there are some hard costs in here, but there are also some large allowances which have increased the value of this change order from what was originally sent out to what we have today. Total change order here is $70,793. And again, there's a lot of estimated costs that will be reconciled once we have a full understanding of all the unforeseen conditions.
I'll move it, Mr. Chairman. With the understanding
Yeah.
the building forwarded to the town council.
Exactly, and this will kind of get, framed as some of the other prior change order requests as kind of like a not to exceed, and then we'll reconcile this hopefully downward at a date to be determined in the future. So motion been made by Mr. Petroselli. Is there a second?
Janet.
Second, Bob Shalou.
All right, thank you, Bob. Any other questions, comments, discussion on this before we call it to a vote? All right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. Brings us to 241.
Okay, change order number 241. This is in reference to RFI 510, similar to the building A, pressure reducing valve. This is the pressure reducing valve that's required in building C for that water feed. It also includes the revision to add a meter pit. Initially, we were told from Aquarian a meter pit would not be required. We had money in COR 167 to replace the valves in the existing water meter pit. That's all been revised by Aquarian. So we're putting a new water meter pit. We're crediting back the replacement of the valves because there'll be a new valve, and we're adding the PRV. Total change order value is $20,615.
So moved. Dan Semp, building needs.
Second, Bob DiLorenzo, BOE.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any questions, comments, discussion concerning this? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. Tim, 242.
All right, change order number 242. This is in reference to bulletin 30 for the air conditioning units sequence of operations. So there was during commissioning of ACU 1 that's located over in building A. The commissioning agent had raised a handful of questions associated with the operation of that air handling unit. Those questions came out and were responded to in a revised sequence of operations from IES. That revised sequence of operations was sent out to the prime tier MJ Daly, sent over to Swan, who is the manufacturer's rep, as well as to ABS, who's the third-party controls. That pricing came in, was reviewed by IES. Again, programming is a little bit different and kind of out of my purview to really understand the full complexity and time associated with programming. They did look at that against historical data, did verify that the costs were correct. Again, it's important to note that this is for all the ACU units, not just for the one over in building A. This applies now to changes within the controls program within the AC unit that's already been shipped. It's already been set up on the roof of building B. There are 4 or 5 more here in building B that need to be addressed. Total change order is $18,708.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second,
Mr.
Janet.
Hold on, who was the second on that? Is that Dr. Robinson?
Yep.
Okay, let me catch up here for a sec. Are there any questions, comments, discussion concerning this change order before us? All right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Again, this is noted to be an allowance amount
Aye.
on the agenda.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. On the next.
Hey, Ken, I'm sorry, Alan, on that one, 242, that's a hard cost. That was quoted.
Oh, that is, I'm sorry.
Yeah, not an allowance.
I'm sorry, so the note carries for the next item down below.
Yes, this is the practice field, right? The practice field will be an allowance, yes. And I'll review that when you're ready.
All right, excellent. So yeah, there's another correction on COR 243, the amount should be 426,531. So that's again 426,531. And Paul from CREC has mentioned to me that if you go to the link will now have these updated numbers in there already. But I'm just kind of following along with the agenda here. So Tim, I'm going to turn over change order 243 to you.
Okay, change order number 243, bulletin 26. This is the updated practice field. Again, this one may come with several questions, and please, I'll go through this. I'll try to hit on things that I've heard since this pricing was received, and then go from there. But this is the practice field that was base contract was a grass field. There was an alternate in the base scope of work that was accepted to change this from grass to a turf field. Then bulletin number 26 was per the owner's request to be able to maximize the size of this field, which approximately increased the size of the field by about a third. Looking at this change order of 426,531, it's been questioned on several occasions that the alternate for this was $485,000, and how could this be $426,000? So I've looked at this in a bit of detail to try to bring it more to a high level, 30,000 feet, to look at this, because in this change order and in this bulletin, not only increase the size of the field. So if all else held equal and you had a field that you just increased the size of it, you would expect that, if it increased a third, you'd do some square foot numbers and you'd come out with a value. But when you add in the additional ancillary items, additional fencing being added, additional sidewalks being added on not only the north side, but also increasing the width of the sidewalk along King Street. We got a retaining wall being added. There are sleeves for a netting, a ball netting in the future. There are gates being added for vehicular gates as well as man gates. So there's a lot of ancillary items that were added in addition to just increasing the size of the field. When you look at in the change order, there is a document that Jen, our project engineer, had created, which shows the breakdown of these costs. It's actually, I believe, page 10 on the PDF, if you go back to that PDF. Down the bottom of there is some brown text where she adds in the approximate values associated with the actual field itself and the increase in the field, which comes out to about $227,000. So if you did 485 and you said it increased by a third, we come up to about 162 for a third of the field. But then when you take the 227 in the pad that's been added to the field, that pad is valued at around $35,000 from the numbers we're being told and quoted. That pad was not originally anticipated as part of the original alternate. So again, now you break that down, it comes down to 192. So now we're compared to 192 versus 162 at just high level numbers. So we're about $30,000 off. Then when you look at the big changes in what would increase the unit price of this, comes down to time, right? Timing from 3 years ago when we bid this to where we are today, as well as the complexity associated with this retaining wall on the south side and the turf tie down that would typically happen. So as we look at it, we've looked at these numbers and we continue to negotiate with K&W and with their vendor, who needs to be experienced and qualified. But as we look at these numbers, they are in line with what we find on an increased size basis. So with this change order, the total change order, which is an allowance, because again, as we continue to ask questions that are out there with K&W and their vendors now, the total allowance value to be able to move this forward is $426,531. It's important to note here that when we received this pricing, we also requested a schedule from the subcontractor. Their schedule looks to get a release to start shop drawings next Tuesday, Wednesday. Going through the process of getting shop drawings done, approvals, material orders, getting the field work in process. They're looking at a mid-October completion, which is only a couple weeks before our final turnover of phase 3A. So as you can imagine, the reason for bringing this before it's fully vetted is because timing is not on our side to be able to get through all this and have the final answer for today's meeting. So again, total change order value is 426,531.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. It's Mr. Poisson.
All right, I see a second by Mr. DiLorenzo. So at this point, I will open it up for questions, comments, discussion.
Alan, that wasn't me who seconded it, but I do have a question.
Okay.
I'll second it, Alan. Dan Semp, Building Needs.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. All right, Mr. DiLorenzo, go ahead with your, is your question going to be for Tim or for Antonazzi?
Tim, probably.
Okay. Right,
Tim,
go ahead, Bob.
Hey, Tim, how are you? I hope everything's going well with you.
Good, thank you.
Quick question. When you're saying it's in line, you use the word in line with other costs. What does that actually mean? I mean, who are you speaking to? Other vendors, I'm assuming, other people that's falling in line with what the costs are to what you're seeing, or?
No, when I use the term, and again, I'm glad you asked that, but when I use the term in line, I'm looking at on a public bid side of this, the base contract as well as the alternate when we bid this work would have come in as a lump sum.
Okay.
In the best interest of the town of Stratford, I'm looking at this saying, are they trying to recover? Are they trying to increase their cost because now we have this change order on the table, which is what we've discussed in the past, that the concern from my end, from when this alternate was accepted to when this change order was going to be executed, was we were never able to get a point where we can define the drawings, define the shop drawings and get everything done, and then measure it against the change. We're doing this concurrently, and that gets messy when you're doing it concurrently. So my goal is to make sure that at least the alternate number that we have, when you look at it by again a 30,000 square foot level, looking at the per square foot cost, that it's in line with what you're getting as a cost now. And when I looked at it, again, a third of an increase of the size of the field based on the original numbers, split out of the new cost all the ancillary additional changes that weren't part of the original design, and then looked at, okay, what's creating that $30,000 delta between the two numbers. And what we identified was this pad that's in question now on another level, whether or not this pad is something that the town wants anyhow. But that pad is what in addition has added to the complexity or to the square foot price of this field.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, question, Bob Shalou.
Go ahead, Bob.
Is this 430,000 comparable to the 578,000 in the budget?
I think that's a question for Paul.
So
I think you're referring to Craig's budget.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah,
Yep, Paul's there.
578,000.
Yeah.
I'll answer that. Paul Drummy from Correct. So that if we were to accept this change order, that is the line item where these funds would come out of. It would not come out of contingency. It would come out of the practice field line item.
Which is 578,000.
Right, remaining.
Right.
All right, Bob, are you set?
Yes, yeah.
Excellent. All right, does anybody else have any questions before we move forward?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, go ahead, Councilman Poisson.
I don't know if Tim can answer this, or Paul or Lisa, but is the number we're voting on, does that include that pad?
This is Tim with Turner, and this does include the pad. It also includes, and I should have mentioned it earlier, it also includes the town's desire to go with field turf. The low bidder to K&W was a company called Atlantic. They are qualified, they are experienced, and there's about a $7,000 upcharge to go to field turf. That includes, per field turf's numbers, that pad is $35,000 deduct if you took that out of their number.
So then if we're going to vote for this and we're voting for the field turf, then we have to amend the motion that we want to do that, the deduct of the $35,000 to get rid of the pad. Is that correct, Paul?
So this is an allowance. We're voting on an allowance so we can move forward on the shop drawing approval process, Ken. So just like any of the other allowances that Tim has brought forward, they'll be reconciled. So Tim, I don't want to speak for Turner, but I do anticipate this coming down from this number.
Yes, we always anticipate it coming down, knowing that the pad's in there, and I know there's been some additional conversations about the pad and whether or not Lisa wants to talk about that with the conversations that I saw come through with email from Stantec. But our goal is always to negotiate the number down. I would also say we've looked at this. The initial number with this is already down $10,000 from where it was, based on a conflict that Jen, our engineer, found with just fencing. So the number came down $11,000 from what was initially submitted. So we are continuing to look at quantities, cubic yards of additional excavation, cubic yards of concrete, trying to understand the complexity between why we have one concrete contractor and another one could cost us $80,000 more, which we don't think is any bit of an issue in the paperwork, because the company from New York is allowed to work here at this point in time. So we are continuing to go through these numbers with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that we are doing our due diligence to protect the interest of the town.
So Lisa here, I would add, I have been in touch with Stantec today to talk about the pad. And if the pad's removed, it will change the design to some extent. So just to ensure that, we're not cutting too much out of this, allowing us to go through shops. I would leave it in there. I'm not saying that we're going to leave the pad in there at all. It's just to protect against any other unforeseen changes to the section of the turf. We haven't vetted the number. I know we were talking about addition of extra rubber crumb, because the pad is for safety, and I believe the extra rubber crumb is also for safety. So we just want to make sure we have everything in there that you need, regardless of whether or not you have a pad.
Mr. Chairman, can I chime in?
Yes, please go ahead, Ken.
Right. Well, Field Turf said that if they got rid of the pad and added an extra ½ inch of infill to bring it up to 2.5 inches, they would lower the price by that $35,000. I also wanted to state that the full field at Bunnell and the full field at Penders is 2.5 inches of infill, and neither of those fields has a pad.
All right, that's good to know. So potentially, as we go through the shop drawing process and go through review, we would be looking to get, possibly get that pad taken out.
Not possibly. I for one would like it removed. There's no need for it, and it's costing us money unnecessarily.
Okay. So, Ken, what number did you say you had for that? It was 35,000?
Yeah, on Field Turf's bid, it said deduct $35,353.50.
I agree with you on that, Ken.
Okay, so Ken, what was that number after the 35? I'm sorry.
$35,353.50.
Yeah, listen, Dan Sun Building needs, I go along with Ken on this. I don't see the need for it, and to save that kind of money, I think is doing our due diligence here. Especially if they don't have it at Bunnell or Stratford.
All right, thanks, Thanks, Danielle. I think I also have a high kind of degree of confidence with this. It's coming directly from the, the contractor that's going to be, or the vendor that's going to be performing the work under the other contractor. Field Turf has done, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, Field Turf has done all of Stratford's turf fields to this point?
Yes, they have.
All right.
So Lisa here
Excellent.
again. I would add that, speaking for Stantec, one of their concerns, which is not a concern if you go with Field Turf, is that they vetted this out with 5 different manufacturers. So if it's definitely Field Turf, I think that will make them feel better.
Yeah, no, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I would think that if all of the other turf fields in town are done with Field Turf, then just for ease of maintenance and consistency of product, I don't see why we wouldn't continue to put Field Turf at the high school.
Right, the original Bunnell Field, which is being torn up as we speak because it's past its lifetime, was Field Turf. It lasted past its expected life expectancy. The field at Penders is Field Turf. The new turf that's going in at Bunnell, literally in the next couple of weeks, is also Field Turf. And knock on wood, we've had no problems with them. It's been super. I think John Casey could collaborate that for me. All those fields have 2.5 inches of infill and no pad.
Okay. All right. So I don't know if somebody wants to kind of check me on the math here, but with the reduction, it brings the number down to 391, 177.50.
I'll second that. I'd go 391, 178. Round up, please.
Okay. Sorry about that, Tim. I forget the new computer systems don't like pennies. All right. Ken, Dan, both of you still motioning, seconding at 391, 178.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. Any last questions, comments, discussion, concern? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously, bringing us to 244.
Okay, change order number 244. This is for some additional gym floor lettering to put Stratford on one side and Red Devils at the other end of the main basketball court in B107. This has been priced to us as a lump sum of $6,000. Again, to be able to process it via change order, we'll get the labor material breakdown, but this is pretty standard. Total change order is $6,775. Striping, again, just time-wise, striping is happening over the next week.
So moved.
By Mr. DiLorenzo, is there a second?
Second, Boscolo.
Okay. Is there any questions, comments, concerns on this item? Hearing none, all those
Yes, Mr.
in
Chairman.
favor signify. Oh, sorry, Ken, go ahead. Mr. Councilman Poisson.
Lisa, I just wanted to check what's happening with the center line when it goes through the logo.
We're gonna change the color so that you can see it, and it's gonna pass over the S, but it's gonna pass behind the pitchfork.
Right. So are you doing what's called like a ghost line or a shadow line?
Something like that. I haven't figured out the color yet.
And sometimes you don't even need the color. You just do the two. You just continue the 2 outside lines of the stripe, and the inside of the stripe isn't, painted, so you can still see where the line would be. That's
Right.
usually what's
And
done.
that will work for the black. When I get to the S, it might be a little different.
Yeah, you probably have to just flip-flop the colors just to continue the line.
Yep. It'll be. I think it'll be cool when we're done.
Oh yeah, look, it looks.
Yeah,
the pictures look tremendous. They really do. And how tall are the letters that are going to say Stratford and Red Devils?
I couldn't tell you to the inch, but that field that they're in is 3 feet. So they're very close to filling the whole thing.
Okay, thank you.
I gotta take a shower. On the tree stuff. Hold on.
Oh, sorry about that. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns for this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. I'm starting to hear a little bit more background noise. So again, just another reminder, anybody who hasn't done so, please mute your phones. Just cuts down on the background noise, cuts down on the feedback. Thank you very much.
Mr.
Tim?
Chairman?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'm very sorry. Can I ask Lisa one more question?
Sure. Before we move forward, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Lisa, is that the X going to be on the basketball court too for the scorers X?
Yes, yes, and lines
Okay.
for the coaching boxes as well.
Okay, thank you very much. I saw in the drawing that it was in the little squiggly lines. I just wanted to make sure it was included. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Tim, I think that brings us to 245.
Okay, change order number 245. This is in reference to RFI 528, topping slab, existing gym floor removal. So over in phase 3A, your existing gym floor has about a 4.5 inch recess where the existing gym floor is. That existing gym floor is slated to be demolished around the perimeter of it on 3 sides of it to become the auxiliary gym, which has a rubber floor, and then some office space and a quarter on the other side, which will also become sheet products or VCT products as well. We have options here on this. We can leave the gym floor in place, the existing gym floor. We can go over the top of that gym floor with some type of product to level it and to put a floor on top of the existing, so you could put rubber over the top of wood. I don't believe that I would recommend that that's the right course of action for the longevity of it, especially within the auxiliary or the fitness center. This cost associated, the cost that you see here are twofold. One is for the actual infill. The villa cost is $57,749 to infill that area. And if you look at the change order, there is a drawing that highlights in red the areas that this covers. And then there is moisture mitigation requirements because the timing associated with phase 3A would require us to put the infill done. It's done with wire mesh and also with some dowels into the existing concrete slab, fill that in, but very shortly after we'd have to put a floor down on it, which would require the RH levels to be much less than what they would be with a new pour. So the total change order here, in order to do it, what we would say would be our recommended way of doing it, and at least I defer to you for your comments, but total change order here is $96,601.
Right. So to add on to what Tim is saying, when we were doing these drawings, we have a slab modeled in our Revit model in this area. Our slab is only 3 inches thick. We didn't have access to the information that talks about the depth of the depression. This was not called out with notes, so it's just shown as a hatch, and it was not shown on structural. So we're satisfied that Villa, the concrete sub, did not pick this up. And so this is not something you would be paying for twice if you put in the slab. And we were looking at it carefully because something that we have done in the past is to put level elastic and flooring over an existing gym floor. And it can work well. It's not as long range and durable a solution as putting the concrete slab in. And we also have areas of concrete block walls. So the floor would have to be cut out and patched in these areas, which would represent some extra cost. The mitigation is sort of a separate issue. I'm talking more about the concrete itself. The moisture mitigation is something that we sort of decided on as a group long time ago when we took the admixture out of the concrete, that some areas would require this moisture mitigation. But if we really want to pull back from this, we can look at putting flooring over wood.
Len Petroselli.
Is there a second?
Second, Bachelor.
Okay, opens this up to and questions for either Turner or Antonazzi.
I got a question. Dan Sent, Building Needs.
Danny.
So I think my concern would be if we went over an existing wood floor with the rubber. Is it a rubber compound?
We have rubber tiles in the corridors, and we have solid vinyl tile in some of the offices. And we also have thick rubber tiles in the weight room.
Would the concern also be trapping in moisture and that wood possibly buckling and causing some uplift of the rubber?
That's always a concern with a wood floor.
It's important to note that until we get in there, we actually do some trenching. We don't know in a building of that age whether or not we're going to find. It's likely that we'll find an AVB underneath that slab, which again, any moisture that's in that, underneath in the ground has an ability to come right through and project to the top of that slab at any point. And I bring that up because there's another change that's coming next that we'll talk about again. Same idea is an infill moisture mitigation because of a 1947 building that probably doesn't have an AVB.
So just one more question in regards to that. So Len's motion was to tear everything up, right, and go over concrete with the rubber flooring, correct?
Yes, that would be the base bid. We have the removal. The removal is base bid. The infill of the concrete with the wire mesh, the dowels, and the moisture mitigation is the change that we're referring to right now. All around your auxiliary gym at the end of the day.
Perfect. Thank you.
So Tim, just to make this clear for everybody, 245 is really sort of the is sort of almost like the underlayment or the subfloor for the new floor that would go on top of the auxiliary gym, and that's the next two options, correct?
No, the 245 is the topping slab around the auxiliary gym. Okay. Within the auxiliary gym, 246 and 247 we'll get to next, and that's an either or leave it as it is. That will include its own infill for the auxiliary gym.
Okay, so then this is just for the areas that you've explained. All right, I just wanted to get that clarified for everyone, as well as myself.
Right. The current gym is a very large box, and the new auxiliary gym is a smaller box, which fits within it. And then we're talking about the area around the smaller box.
All right, excellent. So, any other questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. And now, Tim, that will bring us to the 246 or 247, and this is the discussion of the new topping of the auxiliary gym itself. So yes. Go ahead with that.
Yes. So 246 and 247, and I'll just preempt this with a quick description. As Lisa just said, this is the smaller box that's remaining of the existing gym that will now become your auxiliary gym. Base bid design documents and through value engineering at bid time was to keep the existing gym floor intact and use it for your auxiliary gym. Since the point that decision was made, we've been informed that there was a water release within this gym, which created a problem. In addition to that, there are concerns even on our side with trying to salvage a floor of the age of the floor, which I believe I heard it was replaced in the 90s, maybe was the last I heard. But that floor, when we go and cut it on three sides, what happens to that floor? It's currently been under unconditioned ambient temperatures, so there's no AC in that space. Again, when it's hot in there. It's going to be dried out. When we begin to do the demolition and we get into the space, we take offline any air systems that are on currently. We also have the building's going to be open for a point in time, and again, we have a moisture concern. The real major concern that we have on the constructability side of it is what happens when we cut three sides of this floor. Is it going to buckle? Are we going to see flooring members pop? and we're going to then try to protect the floor that for one is an existing floor. It's a floor, one of the only floors that we're looking to salvage, with the exception of the terrazzo in the main entry over there. Second, to try to salvage it and hope that we don't have any issues trying to put it back together. And then third, knowing that it had another flood concern. So prior to just going forward and leaving it as such, we thought it was prudent to bring it to the committee to say we have a couple options, knowing that we've returned some funds within the GMP and that the funds may be available and to your discretion used for the purposes of getting a new floor within that auxiliary gym. So we have two options that we had priced out by the subcontractors. 246 is for a new wood floor at the auxiliary gym. So that new wood floor would be tearing out the existing and putting in a new wood floor, including moisture mitigation. These wood floors require, regardless if they're on sleepers or not with an AVB, they do require, per manufacturer's instructions in the Maple Wood Flooring Institute, require an 85% RH. That 85% is very difficult to get on a new slab with an AVB underneath it, let alone an existing slab that I don't know at this point without testing how much moisture could be in that slab today. That change order, if we were to go down that road, on a schedule end, would have some schedule implications. They have schedule implications with a new wood floor because of the acclimation of that new wood floor. We are required to bring that floor in. It needs to acclimate to the space for a duration of time. We're doing that now in the new gym, where the floor gets laid out. It sits in an acclimated space that's either controlled by the permanent HVAC systems, which is what you want, or by temporary conditions that are mimicking what the final condition will be. Both of those, right, for the permanent system won't cost you any more money, but it would take additional time. So the dates are in this change order. By December 18th, I believe, was the date that we were able to get to by using the permanent systems and be able to acclimate the floor. Using temporary conditions to do that same thing, to acclimate the floor, would draw the date back, but still would show a delay to the end of October turnover, which is back to early December. So if you went with a wood floor change here, the total change order value would be $123,080, and that does not include the additional schedule time that would be required to have Turner continue to manage the process and extend that end date. The second option that we have here is to replace that floor with a new rubber floor at the auxiliary gym. That would not have a schedule implication, but that change order is more money than having a new wood floor put in. That change order value is $154,029, and the reason why people would look at this and say, how can a rubber floor cost more than a wood floor, is because of that same infill of the 4-inch depression that we just spoke about around the perimeter would have to be done in the auxiliary gym. So we would have to fill that in, that 4 inches, put a moisture mitigator down, and then put the rubber floor on top of it. So again, there are three options that we're presenting to you for your choice. 246 is a new wood floor at $123,080, not including additional costs that'll be required to manage past the end date. And then you have 247, which is a new rubber floor done within the time frame of Phase 3A, a cost at $154,029.
Tim, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Bob Dealer, welcome to the board again. The shelf life of the rubber floor would be much longer, right? What's the difference there from the wood to the rubber?
Lisa, you might have to help me out here. I don't know that answer.
I think that the rubber floor probably is longer, but more because of the resilience of the topping underneath it. Even if you did have to replace it, it would be much less expensive. We're looking, and this price includes a choice between a sheet flooring and a liquid applied flooring called Polyturf, both from Tarkat. But I think it's they're comparable in durability, but I think the rubber floor is less sensitive. So in that case, it is likely to last you a little bit longer.
What's the difference in cost again? I'm sorry.
So if you look at the wood, if you put the wood floor in again, I have to disclaim it because there's additional cost in it on top of this. But 123,080, and then to go with the rubber floor is 154,029.
Mr. Chairman,
And the reason again,
I'd like to make a motion, we approve option 2, the installation of a rubber floor in the auxiliary gymnasium.
I'll second
All right.
that, Mr. Poisson.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Senf. I got you, Councilman Poisson. Paul from CREC, if you're there, do we need to do a formal rejection of option 1, or do we suggest just put option 2 forward and then zero out option 1?
So that's Tim.
yeah, for numerical purposes, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
I would like a rejection, just so we have keep these in numerical order, if that works for you.
All right, let me amend that. So I'll make a motion that we reject option 1, the installation of a wood floor, to go with option 2, the installation of a rubber floor in the auxiliary gymnasium.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. Who was that? Was that Councilman Poisson again?
Yes, I'll second that again.
Okay, excellent. Paul, can I take both these motions in a single vote?
Can you take the rejection and the exception in one vote?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a little convoluted. I would recommend doing them separately, Chairman.
Okay. All right, then I'll make a last call for any questions, comments, discussion concerning 246 and 247. Okay, hearing none, this first motion is a yes vote to reject option 1, change order 246. All those in favor of the rejection signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. And then under option 2 for number 247, this is a vote on a motion to accept the new rubber floor at the auxiliary gym. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously, bringing us to 248.
All right, this is the final change order. And again, I do apologize for all the change orders this month, but we've captured a lot of things, and we've looking at phase 3A, trying to get ahead of what's to come. But last change order for today is related to phase 3A. It's the demo of the existing culinary trailers. We have received direction from CREC, from Paul, regarding information that he's been able to acquire and get from the different vendors and maybe sources that could find a use for those trailers. Paul had provided the committee with an update last meeting. So this is the cost associated with American Demolition to come in and demo out those trailers. We have an allowance in here for $700 to be able to remove the existing fire alarm connections, as well as an allowance in here to look at the data and the PA, because those aren't items that can just be cut off and left alone. They have to be brought back and reprogrammed properly. So the total change order here is $52,494. And Paul, I don't know if you have anything to add prior to the vote.
So yes, if I could just let the committee know, once we receive direction on whether school is going to start May 20th or be finished for the year, CREC is going to reach out to UI and coordinate the disconnect for those trailers. And then I will coordinate with Dan Wakeland and Rich Ruggiero to empty out the equipment and the furniture of those trailers.
So the other thing, Paul, that I would add, just I failed to mention, was the survey, hazmat survey was performed on the trailers. There was nothing identified for abatement. So the cost here does not include any abatement or any additional monitoring by Eagle Environmental.
That's right.
Just, Chairman, just a comment. We're supposed to find out Wednesday whether or not school will be coming back in on the 20th.
Okay, excellent. That's good to have that information. So that decision is expected by Wednesday. Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, it's Laura Hoydick.
Oh,
So
yes, go ahead, Mayor Hoydick, sorry.
If we're finding out about school on Wednesday, can we delay this vote?
We could. What's the concern?
The concern is that we are looking for another use instead of spending $52,000 to another vendor to demolish it when Public Works may have another use for it itself.
Okay, all right, that's good to know. So yeah, typically we have kind of our we pencil in a 2-week interim meeting. So if there's a potential use for these, then yeah, we can entertain tabling and then bringing them up either at a special meeting or further down the road. I mean, my concern on this in terms of waiting longer than 2 weeks would be, I don't know, no one knows what UI's scheduling's at and what their capabilities are going to be at. So, I think the concern would be to, with the moving parts and pieces to it, to, get a decision on this, sooner rather than later.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add just on a schedule side, the phase 3A, which is where these trailers sit, is slated per the schedule to start in mid-June. So if the decision is that school is not coming back in session, I think a little further down the agenda, we will be discussing starting phase 3A as soon as possible to be able to reduce the amount of workforce that's going to be required, which is now a requirement of the executive orders from our governor, and for OSHA for reducing the density within the construction sites. So we would use that opportunity to be able to reduce the number of men and women that would be required on the job. So I would respectfully ask that the decision not be made or not be delayed any further than the special meeting in 2 weeks if possible.
Well, I actually, this is Bob DiLorenzo with the Board of Ed. I actually support Mayor Hoydick's decision and holding off because I think there's some value to that. We're not really sure what's going to go on. We have no answers until Thursday.
The governor states he made that decision tomorrow.
So Dan Sent Building Needs Committee. One thing I did hear today that New Jersey has canceled school for the remainder of the school year. But I did have a question for Mayor Hoydick or to Dr. Robinson. Is there anything we need to be concerned about as far as this committee or building needs in regards to students coming back in the building and how we're going to address that, especially with the renovations going on at Stratford?
You're talking about if the students come back in the building after May 20th?
Correct.
Well, I think there are quite a few concerns. I'm not even sure where to start. But the greatest. What's that? I think the first concern is the distancing issue and whether or not that can work. I fully expect to hear that we will be doing what New York and New Jersey and Massachusetts are doing, which is to not come back this year.
We'll know tomorrow for sure.
If I can, Dan, on the construction side with the renovations, we have very specifically gone in to address work as possible while the students are out. But we have not gone to a point of taking over any spaces where students may return until we get the word that they're not returning in the Board of Ed and this committee gives us the approval to move forward with any other work.
Thank you.
And I just want to confirm the commissioner's call is on Wednesday afternoon.
Alan, can I make a suggestion?
Sure, go ahead, Mr. DiLorenzo.
So I don't see what the issue is. Is it if we're being asked by our leadership to hold off until we find out? What I ask for is then we do hold off, and then we have a special meeting for after if we are back to school. Right? What does it hurt to hold off?
No, I totally agree. I mean, we kind of were hoping that these were going to be able to be reused somewhere, and that they didn't kind of end up going to waste. So I'm okay with that. I mean, if people are available, we don't even have to wait the full 2 weeks. We could have a meeting when we can get one put together. I'm sure it would be quick. Could probably be for just that one item.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
If I could make a
Mayor
recommendation. You could tentatively approve the demolition if the town has no further use for the trailers, and that can be determined within the next 2 weeks, and that way you don't have to wait for another meeting to take place.
Okay, that's an excellent suggestion. So we could motion to act on this and then kind of just have it be on hold, subject to getting a clearance from the town administration to move forward with the demolition. Is that acceptable to everyone?
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
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 With a deadline, with a certainty date to it.
Really, Ken?
There's a lot of interference again. Can people who have phones unmuted please mute their phones? So let's move on this kind of as as I had it. People comfortable moving this as I had just explained, where we take a vote. Ken, is your concern that there's no date attached to the decision?
I'll let the mayor speak to that.
May not be able to hear. Is anybody able to hear?
Yeah. I think the problem is the people that are using their phones have to mute their phones. So I'm seeing all those people on their phones having mute.
Right, and the other thing too is if you're using your phone and your computer, as kind of I was before, you need to mute your computer so that there's no microphone or amplifier going on with the computer.
Yeah, the feedback's horrendous.
I think everything sounds good right now.
So, Mr. Chair, it's Laura again.
Mayor Hood.
Thank you.
There we go.
So if a date is imperative, then I'd say June 1st. But if the date isn't imperative, I think if you let me work with Dan and Mo McCarthy, we'll figure out if we can use the trailer elsewhere. And otherwise you spend the $52,000 to demolish it, or we take care of it ourselves. My biggest concern is, Tim, if we need to get it out of there, that's the drop dead date that I'm more concerned about than the yes, go ahead and have somebody demolish it.
Mayor, I don't have a problem with June 1st, if that works for you. June 1st is fine on my end.
Thank you. Counselor, is that okay?
Yes, absolutely. And I didn't think anything was wrong with your idea. I thought it was a perfect idea. I just wanted a date on it, just because if it was just hanging out there, I didn't want to possibly hold up past Tim's deadline. That's all I was referring to.
Got it. Totally understand. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mayor Hoyt. No, just to kind of add to that, wrap this up before we move forward. I was involved in the town council sort of when these came to light, and it's my understanding that the intention has always been that the culinary trailers were intended to have a further sort of future, possibly permanent use. If that's not possible, obviously, in the end, we'll end up having to demolish them and send them to a landfill. But so again. I'll entertain a motion to accept this, and we'll add in the, final decision on demolition by June 1st. Motion's been made by Mr. Petroselli. Is there a second?
Second, Bob Shalhoub.
Thank you, Mr. Shalhoub. Any further questions, comments, discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Tim, as you go through sort of your reports, again, the entire subcommittee has seen these before. So again, kind of you can move through them at a good pace, and then I'll open up questions, comments, concerns when you're done with both the monthly report and the 6-week look ahead.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree again that the report was issued on Friday. So if anybody has any questions, I would be open to those questions and answer any of those on either the monthly report or the 6-week look ahead. So I don't think there's any point in me reading through it. The one thing that I'd like to talk about, or at least bring to everybody's attention, which is noted within this report, is the impacts of this pandemic and the situation we're currently in. We have been measuring very closely the impacts. We've been reaching out to the market and getting their feedback. We've been watching the CDC recommendations, the governor's executive orders, as well as the OSHA's guidance on these items. Many of these items have required us as an essential construction site to put into place measures to be able to protect the employees who come here to work. I had mentioned a few minutes ago about the density of our workforce and trying to maintain 6-foot separation as much as possible. When we're within 6 feet of one another, that again is unavoidable on many of our tasks here on construction projects. There is a wash down or a requirement to go through and wash down your PPE following the CDC guidelines. So Turner has put out a PPE standard to coincide with those. In addition to that, we've put into place cleaning and disinfecting operations to be able to maintain a clean project site. So we have advanced maintenances here every day, spraying a disinfectant as well as wiping down door handles, rails, anything that may be contaminated by an individual. We watch very closely the workforce out here, and we survey the workforce on a daily basis to make sure everybody's feeling well and that their families are well and that they're not in contact with anybody. We have a requirement for temperature screening here on the project site. So every individual who comes to the site is temperature scanned in the morning. If they have an elevated fever, they are not allowed to be here on site. So we've been putting into place many provisions to be able to continue the operations out here, to be able to maintain the schedule and to work as best we can with the circumstances and the requirements and regulations that are put our way. So to that point, in the executive summary, we do have a statement that I'd like just to point everybody's attention to, is that Phase 2B progress has continued despite the unprecedented pandemic that has impacted and will further impact the building industry. We will continue to monitor, provide notification, and mitigate through appropriate measures where possible. Based on the current information we have to date regarding COVID-19 impacts, the owner move-in milestone of 8/27 remains achievable. I'll say that again. Right now, we do, based on the information we have, we believe that the 8/27 date remains achievable, even with the delays to rails, to millwork, to seating coming out of China. Right now, with the information we have, well, we will be able to meet that date, given that the activities that would typically be tied as a successor to our items to complete list or the architect's punch list, we will need a team atmosphere and everybody to commit to be able to punch list without these items. We've clearly had this conversation with Lisa and George already. They're on board to be able to make this happen. But it is important that it's anticipated that there may be some temporary measures that we will have to use, rails outside to be able to provide the ADA and AHJ requirements for life safety to get that TCO. It's important for us to note to you that, again, we can only go on the information we have today. We learned some great information today that the lecture hall tables will be in mid-May, which is a great news for the team. We've also been alerted that the seats have been loaded on a boat in China, so the auditorium seats are en route to the site. Millwork also will be going in as it becomes available from casework. They're in Michigan that had a government shutdown. So again, we continue to track them. We'll keep a close eye on them. Any additional delays to some very specific items that were in the report will create some delays to turnover of spaces, mainly related to the auditorium. And we've had these conversations with Jack briefly about, maybe the inconvenience of the spaces not being available like the auditorium if we can't get the rails in place. Maybe the lecture hall at the time, we didn't think we'd be able to get the tables based on the information we had. But based on the return of students at the end of August, our intention is to have a gymnasium, have the music spaces, have the culinary space, all those areas available. C of O, we're working with Brian and with Bob now to be able to determine the parameters and the expectations for them. But again, working with Jack and the Board of Ed to make sure that they're aware of what they're going to anticipate coming back to at the time of August, which may not be the entire building B, phase 2B, but a large portion of it for a short time until we can finalize those items when they come available. I apologize for a long-winded explanation, but if there's any questions, please feel free to ask.
All right, any questions for Tim? Yeah, George?
After that, gotta be after
George,
the
question?
editorial.
Right. Hey, Tim,
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Is there any protocol in regards to testing product when it does come in? In other words, you mentioned the seating from China.
Mm-hmm.
So when that product comes in, is there a test method that can test the cartons, test the seats themselves, is it metal or any of that stuff? Is that required in any protocol?
Yes. Yeah, there's no protocol that I'm currently aware of requiring that. My understanding from the CDC, and we do a lot of research, is that it does need a host to be able to live. There's different estimated durations of how long this virus can live on a product like that. And again, on water delivery, we don't anticipate there being a problem. But I'm not aware of any requirement or protocol to test product at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Tim? All right, thanks, Tim. I'm sure I can speak for all of us. We really, appreciate your efforts, and I'm for one, I'm very impressed that you guys have been able to keep going and keep the manpower count as high as it is. This is great news on some of the products and some of the material that's either arriving or set to be arriving soon. So keep up the good work. Our best to you and your team. And
Mr. Chair, if I could interrupt for a second. Dan Semp, Building Needs.
Yes, go Dan.
I'm sorry, I thought he was just talking about the virus. I wanted to, I sent out some pictures to Aileen that she distributed on the panels that were underneath the bridge, as well as some of the glazing on the windows on the south side of the bridge. Can you address that, Tim?
Yes, I have looked into both. The glazing on the bridge has to do with the size of the stop in the actual glazing. That's that ballistic glass. So they do need to come up with a fix to be able to set it almost in a bead of adhesive, is what they're going to look at, but they are setting up to get a road closure. That plan was sent over to Larry Ciccarelli on Friday. So that we need to get a police detail and a road closure plan for that. When it comes to the rust that you see on the underside of the bridge, we have also investigated that. What we found was we have a lot of photos that encompass none of that rust is coming from anything with steel or anything that's infiltrating through the windows. Those panels are meant to take on water and they're meant to shed water. So there's weeps within those panels. There's also everything in those panels is aluminum, except for there's a Z-girt that gets screwed into the framing through the AVB that's on the fluid applied AVB that's on the sheathing. That Z-girt is galvanized. So every time you screw through galvanized, there's some shavings that are left up there. Those shavings are rusting. So they'll be opening that up and flushing that out to get those shavings out of there. But that's what they're finding. You can actually get bits of shavings right at those weeps.
Great, thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
Okay, any further questions for Tim on either the dashboard report or the look ahead? All right, moving along through the agenda, item 7, our next regular meeting will be Monday, June 1st, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. Hopefully, maybe possibly back at Town Hall, but if not, we'll continue with this format. And again, keep it in pencil, May 18th, 2020, 2 weeks from tonight, if needed, would be our interim meeting. Item 8, the on-campus athletic fields. Normally we turn this over to Turner, but turn this over to Antonazzi, but we sort of discussed this as change order work in the other section of the agenda. So that'll bring us to item 9 under new business. So our first item listed is the project adventure. Paul, do you or Antonazzi kind of want to take us through this?
Yeah, I'll take you through it, Chairman. Paul Drummey from CREC. So a few months back, Antonazzi, Turner, and CREC met with administration and staff to discuss the elements. We met with Project Adventure, met us at the high school, and we discussed the elements that would fit the programming for the Project Adventure at the high school. The Project Adventure sent us a list of items that would work in the future auxiliary gym. So now we have those points of connection that need to be reviewed by an engineer. So this amendment number 47 is for structural load modeling and design of the attachment in the amount of $20,415.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept.
So moved. And sent building needs.
Okay, and the second?
Janet Robinson, second.
Okay.
Thanks, Dr. Robinson. All right, any questions, comments, discussion concerning this item?
This is Jack Delapiano. Chair, I just want to thank Paul for taking the lead on this. This comes from multiple meetings with Brian Frazier, our coordinator of health and PE, and art and music for the town, as well as Jackie Sheriff, the lead PE teacher, and me. Just it's a way to have equal programming with Bedell High School and to offer kids all the programs that are available and the program of studies for them. So I want to thank everyone very much for their time and effort on this.
Excellent. Thank you, Principal Delapiano. Any other questions, comments, discussion on this item?
Yes,
all right,
Chairman.
hearing none. Yes, go ahead.
Paul Drummey from CREC again. So today I did receive a quote from Project Adventure for the actual equipment, which came in at around $41,000, and we'll bring that before committee next month for approval once I vet it.
Okay, excellent. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. Paul, I'm assuming some collection of you and Antonazzi will kind of run through the geotech amendments.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Chairman.
Paul's doing great. I'll jump in whenever you need me to, Paul.
Thank you, Lisa. I'll take it, and I'll lean on you when I need to. So just going through the agenda / narrative here. Last month we signed Amendment 46 for a particular task, including soil sample collection, laboratory analysis, communication of results, perimeter particulate monitoring and reporting. And now this month, we're trying to capture the remainder of the soft costs needed to move Turner forward. One of those is Antonazzi Amendment number 48. This is for air monitoring and soils working tasks. And I go on to, state the actual tasks that are involved with this amendment. The extension of the air monitoring program, soil analysis, and the equipment maintenance. The amendment totals $21,884.50, Chairman.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Paul. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion approved, Bob Shalou.
Thank you, Mr. Shalou. Is there a second?
Second, Bob DiLorenzo.
All right, any questions, comments, discussion concerning this item? All right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. And Paul, take us through that last one.
Okay, Antonazzi Amendment number 49 for geodesign, geotechnical evaluation for soil reuse task. This is for the stairwell in front of the civic lobby to make certain. We've been doing quite a bit of work throughout the site to make sure that the existing soils are load bearing and structural enough to accept certain loads. This is certainly one area we were concerned with. So this is to have a geotechnical engineer, structural engineer, make certain that the fill underneath this poured stairwell is adequate in the amount of 3,000. Go on.
Oh, it lets us keep soil on site, which is always a goal.
Yes, thank you, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
This is for the amount of $3,611.
So moved, Bob Shalou.
Second, Bob DiLorenzo.
Any further questions, comments, discussion concerning this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. Next item in going through, we talked about some of the material delays.
Yes. So right after that, Chairman, I can't see your screen because I'm only on audio, but you see an affirmation arrow. This is what Tim was talking about earlier with just to have the town understand, the committee understand what he had stated earlier and what I had drafted in this narrative / agenda, that the committee understands and finds it acceptable that come September, it is okay with the Board of Education, the town, and the committee that Phase 2B will be without the auditorium. So the auditorium will be locked up so nobody gets in because it will not be compliant fully until the ADA handrails get in. And then I go on to talk about certain millwork and relying on administration and to kind of reroute the students on particular days so Turner can get in there and install millwork. So I kind of have a little bit of language here. I don't know if the committee sees it in front of them and some sort of acknowledgement in the minutes, Chairman, that they understand the information that the project team has brought forward.
Okay, yeah, I
If
think,
there's any questions.
yep, no, I think Tim kind of gave somewhat of an explanation on some of the items in his report as well. And so I'll read it into the record on kind of on the last page of your report.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, this is Tim.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we make the point known that the real concern is the way the schedule is currently set up is that as of right now, mid-June, we take over phase 3A, which is your existing gymnasium. We know through conversations that taking over your existing gymnasium means we have to give you a gymnasium come the school year of 2020, 2021. So in order for us to move forward with phase 3A, the last phase of this project, we want the committee to understand, as well as the Board of Ed to understand, that in order for us to do that, we have every intention right now. We're not aware of any issues associated with turning over the gym, the culinary, because we're going to demo out the culinary trailers. But there will be some, let's term them inconveniences, come back, when they come back to school, based on the fact that there are some materials missing. But we really want the committee's understanding and okay with moving forward with phase 3A, knowing that there's going to be some work remaining in phase 2B when they come back.
So are you at this point, Tim, able to put together kind of a list or even a potential list of what items might be on that? I mean, I know Paul from Correct just mentioned the auditorium being as one of them due to the ADA railings not being in place.
We have a list. That list again, Turner has put that in letters to Correct as well as to the committee. They're included in the package. I can put that list together more thoroughly as information becomes available. But like I said, we're coming up very closely before our next meeting, and for us to start planning that, we just want everybody to understand and be on the same page that in order for us to hold the end date of the final phase of this project, we do have to get into the work as soon as possible, which would be if we find out tomorrow or Wednesday that there is no school coming back, we'd want to jump in there right away. But we'd be taking your existing gym, and you would be coming back to a building that, the auditorium may have the doors locked. The lecture hall, we heard some good news today. The other spaces, we don't have any indication that there's not going to be materials available. So I would say right now for the committee is, right now we're planning that everything's done by the 27th. The area that may not be is the auditorium. And the other thing is we'll have to do some temporary provisions at the stairs on the exterior of the building to be able to enter with temporary rails, because those rails are coming out of Canada.
Mr. Chairman, this is Jack Delapiano. I spoke with Tim and Paul about this at length over the last week or so, and we're fully committed to make necessary temporary adjustments to classrooms for millwork and cabinetry that have to be installed that may be delayed, and also understand the implications of the auditorium. But the space is valuable to us with the course offerings and declining and increasing enrollment. We'd love to be able to have as much space available as possible, understanding that a day or two relocation to install some millwork classrooms may happen.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Thank you for that. It's good to see that we're all looking to, continue working together and negotiating what, at the end of every project or at the end of any phase of a project, there's always sort of challenges that, maximize, understanding and flexibilities.
Yeah.
So Paul, where the affirmation is, are you looking for kind of like the subcommittee to take a formal motion on that?
No, just something that just with Aileen, trying to get that into the minutes, I think would be adequate, knowing that we've discussed this. And Tim, you didn't want a motion or anything, did you, Tim?
No, I don't
We're not
think
gonna
this needs a
move on.
motion. Again, I think it's just an acknowledgement that we're all on the same page, that we have an understanding of where we're going in that we, Turner, will be notified if there's any reason that we need to stop the freight train in the start of phase 3A.
All right, excellent. Sounds like we're all on the same page, all working together here, happily moving forward. So Paul, in going through this, we're kind of coming to the end. Yes.
We are, Chairman. Just a couple informational paragraphs here that I'm sure the committee has read already. If they have any questions,
Exactly.
let me know.
Yep, we kind of covered the pedestrian bridge. So that having been said, item 10 is a motion to adjourn.
Hey, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry. Call for new business. Go ahead, Mr. Poisson.
Yeah, I just wanted to make just a point that it's been online, widely reported that the governor's announcing tomorrow about schools being closed for the rest of the year. That he's not waiting till Wednesday. He's going to make the announcement tomorrow. It's on Channel 8. It's in a lot of newspapers already that he's making a decision tomorrow, him and the Commissioner of Education.
Okay, we'll have to keep our eyes and ears open, watching the news, as we may know before Wednesday. Any other kind of new business, last thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, I know it's been a long meeting. This is George from Antonazi Associates. I just want to interject one item. When we did the design of the entire school project, we have what we call the civic lobby, which is the main entrance lobby that goes directly into the auditorium, the lecture hall, and the gymnasium. And then from there, it also goes off to the food services, music, and other sort of the arts, if you will. In that main lobby, we've got a clear story that you can probably now see from the outside, where there's glass high up above that brings light back into the depths of the lobby. Below that glass, we designed what we're calling art opportunities. And I spoke about this in the presentation, but it was so long ago, I'm sure we all forgot about it. The idea is that, and I forget the number, but there's, let's say, 8 to 10 opportunities to have some sort of art. And our idea was that it would be something that has to do with the history of Stratford, with the arts of Stratford, with the athletes of Stratford, whatever the case may be, and that each one of these placards would be an opportunity for sale to raise money to create some opportunities for scholarships. So as a for instance, if we were to reach out to the art community and the art community put out for, I'll say RFP or RFQ, ideas from the local artist or state artist, what would you do? Is it a bronze relief? Is it watercolors? Is it, any sort of media that would be consistent upon all of them? And then they can be put up for sale. So say the number ends up being $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 a piece, whatever the case may be. What we have there is we have a placard where the piece of art would go. Below that, we have a little bronze plaque which has the name of the donor, and then we have a piece of art lighting. So each one of these placards get lit up independently and individually.
There are 14.
I just thought I would throw that out there for the entire committee to think about ways that maybe moving forward, because that time is going to be here sooner than later, because this is all going to take quite some time, and I would for sure volunteer all of my time to assist the project in moving forward.
I'd just like to add there are 14 spots. I just checked.
14, thank you.
So, George, just real quick, is the intention that these would initially be glass and then the glass would come out and the art would take the place of the pieces of glass and then the donor placard would go underneath?
Now, right now, each one of the plaques are of wood, I believe, Lisa, right?
I believe so, yeah. And then we have a panel, a large panel above each one, and I think that there could be some swapping of that.
Yeah, so what goes around underneath the clerestory, Alan, is a series of plaques that the art would be placed on, and each one of those plaques has art light shining on it. So it'll be a very prominent spot when you walk into that lobby. So let's say, for instance, if the theme was, historical housing, and it was a photographer that ended up winning the commission, and he would go around and take, photos of historical housing. Or if the theme is, historic Main Street, and it just shows, Main Street back in its heyday. Or if it is to honor athletes of the past in Stratford High School, whatever the theme is, should be consistent. The media should be consistent, and your artist should be consistent. And that way there, the entire thing has a real nice story going on. When you walk in, it's got a real high level of importance to it.
All right. George, just in the interest of moving things along, do you think maybe before the next meeting you could kind of, work up a little bit of an elevation so that people can get a feel for kind of what, visually what it is that you're talking about? I just want to make sure that it's feasible, from, materials used and going to be able to be kept secured and all of that.
Absolutely. What we can do is we can forward to everybody on this meeting tonight. We can forward. We did a rendition back when we did the original presentation, so we can forward that rendition back out to everybody. At least we can do that tomorrow to the entire committee. Yep. And so, all right,
that'll be fantastic, and then we can kind of maybe, see where that discussion goes. Maybe kind of hash it out over email or do an update at next month's meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Appreciate it. All right, if there are no other new business items, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Bob Shalou.
By Bob Shalou.
Second, Janet Robinson.
Second by Dr. Robinson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and we are off the clock at 7:26.
If you're on building needs, which is pretty much everybody here, please stay on the call. We just wanted to make sure we had quorum.
You do.
Okay, everybody bear with me. I just have to read this again like we did last month and like I just did at Public Works and Alan just did at Building Needs at Stratford High. This is Ken Poisson, 6th District Councilman and Chairman of the Building Needs Committee. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, we are conducting this meeting on gotomeetings.com on Monday, May 4th, 2020. Quorum for this meeting is 6, which we have. In attendance are the following members. When I read your name, please just say here. Jim Connor, Bob DiLorenzo,
Here.
Alan Llewellyn,
Here.
Linda Manos, Lam Nguyen, Len Petroselli,
Here.
Dan Senft,
Here.
Caitlin Shake, Ron Tickey,
Here.
and myself, Ken Poisson. Also in attendance, if you are here, please state so. John Casey.
Here.
Rich Ruggiero. Dan Wakeling.
Here.
Margot Paquette.
I'm here.
Aileen Marsh.
Oh, I am here.
Okay, before I officially call the meeting to order, I'd just like to remind everyone, if you're on video, to please raise your hand if you'd like to speak. If you're on the phone, please ask first. When I acknowledge you, each and every time you begin talking, you must begin by stating your name and title. This is per Governor Lamont's executive order, which allows us to have a virtual meeting. And also the reminder from the whole night is to please keep your phone on mute, your computer on mute, unless you are talking so we don't get any background or echo. Thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to officially call the meeting to order at 7:30 p.m. The second item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from our regular April 6th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Lynn Petroselli.
Is there a second?
Second, Bob DiLorenzo.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Item 3 is ongoing items. 3A is Board of Ed, and A1 is Stratford High. I think Alan can breeze through this because we were all just on the last call. Mr. Chairman Llewellyn.
Thank you, Alan Llewellyn, elected member, Building Needs Committee, Chairman of Stratford High Renovation Subcommittee. As Chairman Poisson just stated, we just had a lengthy meeting discussing the high school project. I know all of us were on for that. The both dashboard and 6-week look-aheads were issued. Turner's reported some good news with regards to some of the material dates. You still need to be mindful that there, in all likelihood, will be some items from future phases that won't be 100% done at the point of turnover. And as we are now in the phase of work where we're renovating the existing building, there were many change orders presented and discussed and reviewed. Just about everybody who's now here was all, so I'll go through these as quickly as I can. Change order number 236, COR 236, was adding a PRV, or pressure reducing valve, in building A. I would move that we accept that in the amount of $17,994.
Is there a second?
Second, Bob DiLorenzo.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next.
Change order request number 237. This is additional safety devices based on a walkthrough held by the security consultant as well as Larry Ceccarelli. I would move that we accept this in the amount of $8,376.
Second, Lynn Petroselli.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next.
Change order request number 238. This was to replace a thermostat that was getting damaged because it was getting run into by carts. The replacement thermostat is going to be provided with a protective cover. I would move that we accept this in the amount of $1,370.
So moved. Dan Sun, Building Needs.
Okay, seconded by Danny. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next.
Change order request number 239. This is based on the response to RFI 417. This was some updating and shifting of a screen wall due to an alternative selection of HVAC equipment. I would move that we accept this and send this to town council with favorable recommendation in the amount of $56,981.
Is there a second?
Second, Bob DiLorenzo.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Number 240. This is relation to Bulletin 13, demolition and investigations. This change order includes some allowance amounts in it. So hopefully we'll see these reconciled and this amount get lowered. But I would move that we send this to town council with favorable recommendation in the amount of $70,793.
Second, Lynn Petroselli.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next.
Change order request number 241. This is based on the response to RFI number 510. This is adding another PRV, or pressure regulating valve, and meter pit in building C. I would move that we accept this in the amount of $20,615.
Second, Lynn Petroselli.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next.
Number 242, this was based on bulletin number 30, which is a sequence of operations for the temperature control system as issued by Antonazzi and a team of consultants. I would move that we accept this in the amount of $18,708.
Second, Len Petroselli.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next.
Change order request number 243. This was based off of bulletin number 26, which is the added size and enhancements for the updated practice field. I would move that we accept this cost and send this to town council with favorable recommendation in the amount of $391,178.
Second, Len Petroselli.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next.
Change order request number 244. This is for some gym floor lettering at either ends of the gym, as well as some other clarifications with regards to how the flooring and letters are going to be set in the new main gym. I would move that we accept this in the amount of $6,775.
Second, Len Petroselli.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next.
Change order request number 245. This is to provide topping on the existing slab and moisture mitigation under the existing gym floor, areas that are going to be outside of where the new auxiliary gym is going, as explained during the subcommittee meeting. I would move that we send this to town council with favorable recommendation in the amount of $96,601.
Second, Len Petroselli.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next.
Next item is option 1, change order request number 246. This was the option to put in a new wood floor in the auxiliary gym. This was rejected at the subcommittee level, so I would make a motion that we not accept this item in a $0 amount.
Second, Len Petroselli.
Okay, so we are accepting the subcommittee's rejection.
Correct.
Aye. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Option 2, change order request number 247. This was to put new rubber floor in the auxiliary gym. I would move that we send this to town council with favorable recommendation in the amount of $154,029.
Second, Len Petroselli.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next.
Our last Turner item, change order request number 248. This was accepted pending we get notification to proceed with this by no later than June 1st of 2020. This would be sent to the town council with favorable recommendation in the amount of $52,494, and this is for the demolition of the existing culinary trailers if they're deemed unusable.
Second, Len Petroselli.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Anything else, Alan?
Yeah, 3 more. Next item is Antonazzi Amendment number 47. This is for structural load modeling and design of attachments for the quote-unquote adventure gym equipment to be installed into the new high school. I would move that we accept this in the amount of $20,415.
Second, Len Petroselli.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next.
Next, Euthanasia Amendment number 48. This is for East Parcel environmental air monitoring soils work to be done while work continues on the East Parcel. I would move that we accept this in the amount of $21,884.50.
Second, Len Petroselli.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next.
Last item, Euthanasia Amendment number 49. This is for geodesign evaluation for soils reuse. This is for structural stability over in the area of the lecture hall. I would move that we accept this in the amount of $3,611.
Second, Dan Semp.
Hey, any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Anything else, Alan?
No, that's it for tonight, Mr. Chairman. Hopefully, we're kind of coming down to the tail end of the change order intensive times with the ongoing work at the renovation side. But thank you again, and let's move forward.
Right, and thank you for your hard work on that subcommittee. The project is moving along nicely, as we can all see when we drive by. Okay, item A2 is open work orders on the Board of Ed side, which were emailed out ahead of time to us. Does anybody have any questions for Danny or Rich? Okay, thank you very much for sending those ahead of time. And Mo has already stated that having the buildings closed has given you guys a great leg up on getting stuff done, which is good to hear. Item 3B is general buildings, open work orders and building repairs on the town side, which again was emailed out to us ahead of time. Does anybody have any questions for Danny? Again, Dan, keep up the good work with your crews and getting in the buildings while you have the opportunity to. Thank you very much. Does anybody have an update on Booth Park buildings, which is item B2? Okay, item 4 is new business. The first order of business is CPO1, the domestic water repairs in the amount of $13,157 to send to the town council with a favorable recommendation for the Second Hill Lane School boiler repair project. Can I have a motion to approve that and send to the town council?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Yep.
Lom Nugent, second.
Second, Bob DiLorenzo.
Hey, Bob, I think Lon beat you there.
All right. Sounds good, Ron.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve and send to the town council with a favorable recommendation and a second. Is there any discussion? This was also emailed out to us ahead of time. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. The next item under new business, there will be no action on that tonight. The Public Works Garage Repair Shop, as the bids were just opened late on Friday, and no action will be taken on that at this meeting. Item 5, does anybody else have any new business? Okay. Item 5 is our next regular meeting. Our next regular meeting, as has been stated all three meetings tonight, is now Monday, June 1st. It originally was going to be Tuesday, June 2nd, because of the mayor's golf tournament, which was on Monday, June 1st, but that golf tournament has been postponed. So we are moving Public Works, Stratford High, and Building Needs back to its usual Monday time slot. So Monday, June 1st will be our next meeting. A special meeting, if needed because of Stratford High, would be Monday, May 18th. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Len Petroselli.
And a second?
Second. Hanson.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey, before I adjourn this, I would just like to thank you all for all of your time we put into this committee and volunteering your time to our town. Please stay safe, everybody. We are adjourned at 7:46 p.m. Thank you.
Likewise,
Thanks,
Mr.
guys.
Chairman. Be safe, everyone.